Bring back the fall of the walls of Jericho. Pride was the fall of the devil. God is proud, he has to go. You were born crying in pain, left an orphan at an early age, a dead-end job that would not pay. All souls avoid you, they think you're strange. She was beautiful, a sight to see, kidnapped and sold to slavery, raped by a man with HIV. Her lot was shame and agony. Will you reward them for their pain, Lord? Reward them for their pain. Their suffering is not in vain if you reward them for all their pain. I knew of a man drafted in the ghetto, burned with napalm head to toe. He blew his mind out, he couldn't cope. If you were he, would you have hope? Some broken souls know only pain. So many suicides not to blame. Give them new life, I hope and pray. Tears in my eyes, I hope and pray that you reward them for their pain, Lord. Reward them for their pain. Their suffering is not in vain if you reward them for their pain. I knew a childhood without hope, chained up and starved by his own folks. He was like Bundy, but a little bit iller, a psychopathic serial killer. His victims prayed for night and day. The souls in heaven watch and pray that the devil doesn't take you away on Judgment Day. But it got a lot better from there. He said a prayer on the electric chair. His victims took his soul far away. You will reward them for their pain, Lord. Reward them for their pain. Their suffering is not in vain if you reward them for their pain. I think America can be won. Give Meadow the power of the Father and the Son. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and we all know that Humpty had a great fall. The medical professionals, they found nothing that they could do. But Meadow's got a plan for making things new. So here's the thing. Saint Louis de Montfort said that the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary is a place where a soul can be remolded. Like, you know, there's sculptures are made with a lot of painful, it's a different process making something, but in a mold you melt it, and the process of remolding something into a new creation, like a caterpillar in a cocoon turning into a butterfly. Okay, so this is the thing in spirituality, and I believe it's totally true. I know it's true because I've experienced it. There are things called tulpas that they can be dangerous, but because God is a spirit, that we all come from the spirit of God, the creator that created everything with words and his imagination. If that spirit is in people to the extent that some of them can actually create an independent entity that resembles a type of, some type of spirit, some type of angel or something, some supernatural entity, but bad things can happen too in that process, okay? Because we all, you know, just like if when you're giving birth to a child, you know, the negative things can be passed on to them. And so when your imagination is creating an entity, I mean, but the thing is, you can also take spirits that have, that already exist and kind of use a type of telepomancy that's not forbidden. And that's kind of what St. Louis de Montfort was talking about. And And so Mussolini means Jacob, and Jacob was married to Rachel was the bride that he made himself a slave for 14 years to get with Rachel. And so Benito Mussolini had all these beautiful women that he could have gotten with, but he knew he was good friends with Rachel since age 7. She would not accept his marriage proposals, and so he saw her dancing. I mean, this was like in high school. I mean, he saw her dancing with her boyfriend, snatched her from his arms, finished the dance, dared the guy to fight him, dragged her to a cab, dragged her home, and her mother said, "If you do this again, I'm going to call the police." He said, "Right." He left. He returned with the gun, pointing at his mother, and he said, "There are 6 bullets in this pistol, and one of them is going into Rachel, and the rest are going into me if she does not agree to marry me right now." Well, he was essentially saying, "I'm going to go to hell. I'm taking her with me," because for some reason he knew this was a very, very important marriage. And that's not the only time he did something very prophetic, not really showing evidence that he knew what he was doing, but it turned out to be a very, very valuable thing, because I learned so much from that book. And so Rachel said to her mother, she said, "I've loved Benito and been his best friend since age 7. I just did not want to have a husband like that." She was very simple. She had a lot of poverty in spirit, did not like attention. She didn't want anybody to know she was the wife of Il Duce. And so he died. He was executed on the feast of St. Louis de Montfort, the saint that glorifies Jacob, who says in the end times, the elect will be Jacob, devoted to the Queen of Heaven. And he was hung upside down on Hirohito's birthday, and to hang upside down in Shinto means the same thing as the crucifixion in Christianity. It implies, when a Christian says they're carrying the cross, it means they're suffering tremendously, and that's what it means at the Obon festival. But more interesting, Emperor Hirohito was a very eccentric butterfly collector, to the point it was affecting his ability to be an emperor or a statesman, because of this thing with him and butterflies. I didn't know that, but I called Mussolini Benito the butterfly because he hung upside down with Clara Petacci, a woman who was willing to shield him from bullets at shouting no, and be a friend to the end, okay? Because he made her dreams come true, and she's willing to die with a man who probably cannot reward her in the next life, okay? She's just laying down her life, not expecting any reward. And people aren't going to praise her, but originally, Benito Mussolini he had a Jewish lover that helped him inspire fascism in the March on Rome and the miraculous fall and topple of democracy in a first world cradle of democracy without any bloodshed in the March on Rome. He had a Jewish mistress so that he shared a bed with for 20 years, and he also only saw an Orthodox Jewish dentist, and his home was open to Jewish children. He originally renounced Adolf Hitler's anti-Semitism. He was the first military enemy of Adolf Hitler, putting his troops on the border with Austria, calling upon allies to stop the annexation, and Hitler sent a bunch of weapons to his enemies in Africa. So he was the first military enemy. If the Allies would have responded to him, he would have joined the Allies. The problem is, with the fall of France and the Blitz and stuff, it looked like he had to do something, go against his conscience just to have his country survive. And he was originally the person who wanted to create the nation of Israel even more than the Jewish people, because he turned to the Jews in America for financial help to create Israel after his conquest of Beta Israel and the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia, and abolishing slavery so he could be like Abraham Lincoln in a sense. He wanted to create Israel, and he just didn't have the financial support, so he wasn't willing to do the military work. And plus, that was before the Holocaust, so why would the Jews want to live in the Middle East? But people would not know so many of the amazing things that this guy did, and fascism was actually the opposite of what Antifa is actually saying. And he made a big mistake, okay? And he's willing to admit it. But he was trying to survive, and when you're trying to do something for survival, if a mother's got a gun pointed to her head, and she's trying to protect her children, she might do some things that go against her conscience, okay? So just always remember that.